guys, it's Shai. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, we talk about beauty, nursing, and lifestyle weekly. And today we're going to be talking some nurse tea. So the nurse tea, as you guys seen in the title, is managing bedside burnout. We are a year into this pandemic, guys. Even the people who never thought they would hit burnout are hitting burnout. I want to give you guys 5 tips on how you can take care of yourself and what you can do for your career as a nurse to manage this burnout. There are tons of options. Nursing is a variable occupation, and I just want you guys to know that, and I want you to know you're not alone. I think maybe 80% of nurses right now who work bedside or who just work in general, even if you're not bedside, any type of patient care, or even if you're like the back end administration, we're all dealing with burnout in some type of way right now. So I just want to give some tips and some tricks. Make sure you stay tuned so we can get started. Okay guys, so rolling right off of from what I was saying in the intro, the first tip I'm always going to give you guys is to make sure you manage your self-care wisely. And how do you do this? A lot of nurses think when you first ask, like my friends who are nurses, what do you do for self-care? I think 75% of us is like literally just sleeping. And while I do not knock that, because sleep is self-care to me, I think there's so much more out here for us to do for ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally to make sure we stay intact. Because how do we take care of others, and how do we be our best selves and our best selves as nurses and as healthcare professionals if we're not even being our best selves to ourselves? So I tell people always and all the time, make sure you explore different options of self-care. It can't just be laying in the bed and sleeping, especially with the weather hopefully getting nice, because right now it's snowing. But what places can you go? What things can you do? Simple stuff as like a pottery class, a cooking class, things that just get you out of that hustle bustle element of the bedside or even nursing in general. Another thing that I talk about also is just catering to your hobbies. You guys see me right now, I'm filming, I'm doing YouTube videos, I'm editing. It's a hobby of mine. I love it, I enjoy it. It gets me out of that hustle and bustle craziness of always doing bedside nursing or just nursing in general. So cater to your hobbies and also cater to your side hustles. If there is something you want to do on the side or something you love to do that is beyond just bedside or beyond just working as a nurse, take care of that. Make sure you cater to your side hustle, because it deserves it. And I think that goes right into my second point, which is learning how to tell these organizations no. Guys, this is going to be one of the hardest tips right now, especially because the pandemic is going on and everybody is throwing these beautiful bonuses out the wazoo because they know that's the only way they're going to get you to even try to work extra despite everything that's going on. So that's the other thing I have to tell people. I'm not the best at this. I'll tell you guys, you throw a number I like to see out there and I'm going to probably come in for it, whether it's my 4th day, my 5th day, or my 6th day. But I'm also very vigilant about what I think my worth is as a nurse. You cannot get me to come in to do a shift if there's no bonus. That's my first rule, and that's just the way I am. You cannot get me to come in to do a shift if that bonus is just like $100. You guys know, like, look at how much you make an hour. Look at how much your sanity is worth too. There has to be a certain limit for me. There has to be a certain number that pop up that's really going to talk to me to come in. So also, like, when jobs want you to come in, be willing to negotiate. You're a nurse. Your license has power behind it. You want me to come in? I want $400 straight up. Oh, you don't want to? All right, then you can find another nurse. That's just the way it is. This field is so giving. We give so much and we receive so little. You have to learn how to know your worth, and you also have to learn how to say no so you can take care of yourself, so you're not being that crazy nurse that's yelling at every patient you see because you're just tired, you've gotten 4 hours of sleep, and you've worked for the last 7 days. Now my third tip is going to focus a little bit more on bedside, but not even just bedside, just what you're doing in general. Sometimes all bedside is not bad, but it's just the environment that you work in. The environment that you work in is composed of many different factors. The people you work with, your coworkers, the leadership that you work with, which is your manager, your nurse manager, and even the people who, you know, are charge nurse and things like that. They can definitely play into that environment. The patients, you can't always blame the patients because, you know, in nursing, it's like Russian roulette. You get what you get. and you don't pick. So it's not always the patient population, but sometimes it's just having people there to support you. You might not have that support. You might have toxic people in the environment. Sometimes that's all you need to kind of reflect on to realize, you know what? It's not nursing that I don't like. It's the environment. You never know. Sometimes you don't even have to switch a specialty, y'all. Sometimes you just have to switch a floor. Sometimes you just have to switch the people that you're around contributing to your profession and to your career. Because a lot of nurses, when they reflect on it, they will tell you they hate like bedside, and then they switch up their floor or even their specialty and quickly realize, oh wow, I do like nursing. I just needed like support, or I needed like people I can confide in, or I could ask questions and they won't look down on me and things like that. So when you're considering your burnout and what's going on, really take time to understand your environment, who's in your environment, what's in your environment, even like I said, up to leadership. The people who don't be on the floor every day with you but want to give you all these 10 million, 5 million, 6 million roles, that is something to consider at the same time too. Now my next tip is my favorite, because y'all know I did this. Sometimes you have to drop a level. And when I say drop a level, I'm not talking about your credentials. No, sweetie, add them letters on, because we need all the letters we can get. But sometimes you just have to drop from what you're working. Many of you guys know when I first started nursing, I was doing full-time hours, and I quickly dropped to part-time. And to supplement for my part-time drop, I picked up another PRN job. And that PRN job includes less stress, less craziness, and just an opportunity to feel like I'm giving back as a nurse and I actually have time to spend with my patients. And that helped me physically, yes, mentally and emotionally enjoy my job more, and also benefit from what it really means to be a nurse. So sometimes you have to do that drop, y'all, whether it's from full-time to part-time. Some of y'all just need to stop working 7 days a week and just work your 3 that you need to, and that's it. And sometimes you might even have to drop to PRN. I just recently talked to a girlfriend about 2 weeks ago who did this. She's been working bedside as long as I have. No, in fact, I think she's been there longer. She started 2 years before me. So I think she's been there almost 7 years. She was full-time, picking up shifts. She works at a great institution, but she just was done. She slashed herself from full-time to PRN, so 2 shifts every 6 weeks, and she's been working vaccination and testing clinics since I think October, just picking up those pool jobs, or those jobs that like the American Association sends you in like email. Make heck a bank. She's very happy. She is enjoying what she's doing. She also feels like she's still contributing to this pandemic and what's going on, and being that healthcare hero, but she's not necessarily in the hospital as much as she was. And she was working ICU, y'all. She was a boss behind nurse. But she said, you know what? I just took that time. She slashed herself to those 2 shifts every 6 weeks, and that's what she's doing. Explore your options. Find out what you can do. Like I told y'all, there's home care out there. There's a lot of vaccination and testing clinics right now. Urgent cares, surgery centers, dialysis. There's so many options. You don't have to stay where you're at as much as you're there, because sometimes that's just the fact of it too. You're just there too much. All right, y'all. My last one, y'all gonna be like, Shay, you putting me on the end of the cliff. You putting me out there. I'm pushing you beyond. I'm pushing you beyond your fears and your hopes and your dreams. And I'm gonna leave the word right here. Right here, period. Yeah, it says leave, y'all. Sometimes, and I know I'm focusing a lot on bedside here, but like I told y'all, if you're in a different specialty, this can apply to you. Just put your specialty where I'm saying bedside. Sometimes you gotta go. Sometimes you have to leave, because sometimes that's the beauty of nursing. As I told you guys in the beginning, I probably sound like a broken record. There's so much variability. There's so many options. There's so many things to do, and there's so many places you will benefit, even if you're not necessarily at the bedside. Sometimes it's not the fact that you don't want to deal with patients. You just don't want to be at the bedside. And that's where other options come in, like surgical centers, dialysis, things like that. I was really sad, y'all. I had to turn down a dialysis job recently just because of school. But I promise you, if I wasn't in school, I would have bounced up out the hospital and went to dialysis really quick. And the other beauty in that too, guys, is if you leave your bedside job gracefully, it is always there. Don't ever think you can't go back to bedside. Don't ever think that's another beauty in nursing. You can work so many different jobs, and you can always do a hop around and go back to those jobs. As long, especially bedside. Bedside, y'all know the hospital will always be there, and the hospital will always be in need if you leave gracefully. Now, you can't be turning in your resignation the day you want to leave, cussing people out, telling people off, and then, you know, a year, 5 years later, you're like, I want to come back. They're going to be looking at you like, we don't want her back. She was so rude. But if you leave gracefully, you take time to sit down with your management, and they understand, guys, because look at where they're at. They made the same decision. They made the same decision to leave gracefully and take on another role. So if you sit down and talk with them, 9 times out of 10, now I know there's some haters out there, but 9 times out of 10, they understand where you're coming from, and they make sure they make it known that you left gracefully and that you can always come back. So that's sometimes what you just gotta do. You just gotta leave. You gotta explore other options. I'm gonna do a video soon talking about the top 10 options that are non-bedside. So I want you guys to make sure you stay tuned on my channel so we can go through those options. But I do want to actually just mention right now that there are options out there. You're not stuck to bedside. You're not stuck to the hospital. You're not stuck to patient care. There's things you can do as a nurse and be so beneficial and still be a nurse and still have your credentials that just oppose you to another side or another view on nursing or another lens or another, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's still, you're still a nurse. And then I hate that too, y'all. Like, people leave bedside and people want to tell people they're not nurses no more. If you took your NCLEX and the end of your name says LPN, RN, BSN, and a whole bunch of other letters, because most of us have a whole bunch of other letters, you are still a nurse. So don't let nobody tell you that. Just because you're not working bedside, trust me, bedside is not a trophy. It is a good opportunity. It's a wonderful learning opportunity. I personally believe that every nurse should at least work bedside once, even if you're only there for 6 months. But it is not this trophy that people go around and wave and say, hey, I work bedside, I'm the bomb. Nah, it's a bomb behind nurses that not necessarily at bedside. And as I told you guys before, if you're not at bedside, if you're in some of these, you know, administrative roles, if you're doing something like home care and you're like, I'm done, I don't want to do this no more, hop into other things. Sometimes you got to hop into bedside if you haven't been there or if you haven't been there in a while. So that's my last tip, just leave. I feel like I talked about that for so long, but I'm very passionate about that, y'all, especially with nursing being so versatile. Alright guys, are you done with me yelling and screaming and acting a whole fool on this camera? I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in for this video. I'm just so passionate about this because I see so many people who leave nursing just in general, just because there are 1 or 2 jobs that didn't work out. And I really need people to know that there are so many options out here. You don't have to stay where you are, but you can still, like, we need you. Anybody who is able to stick in this nursing field, we need you. It might not be in the place you're at now, but you are needed somewhere else, and that might be why you're just not fitting. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure if you have any comments, questions, if you have any advice for managing burnout that I did not mention, make sure you leave it down in the comments below. It can be your 6 months into nursing, it can be your 16 years into nursing. It doesn't matter. It's all valuable information, and that's why we're all here to support each other and, you know, just uplift and manage this occupation that we have, guys, because it is hard out in these streets. So anywho, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe, leave me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next upload.